Hey Aubrey, what's shaking?
Not much. How are you, Lindsay?
I'm feeling pretty good today. Sun is shining here on the East Coast. I'm visiting my family out here, so all good, all
Nice.
good.
Awesome. Do
Yeah.
you have anything really fun, planned to do while you're visiting family?
We've done a lot of fun things. We went to a
Nice.
wedding. We've been spending a lot of time by the ocean, the
Awesome.
seashore. So it's been good, but we're heading
Oh,
home
so
soon.
fun.
So back to Denver, the long road trip.
Nice. Okay, so I have
Yeah.
a question. While you're at that wedding, right, and you're
Yes.
chatting with people maybe you haven't seen in a while, are you really good at switching topics in a conversation?
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty good conversationalist. I'm not the best I'm not exceptional, but I think I'd probably get like an A minus in my conversational skills.
Nice. I
So,
love how
yeah.
you translated that directly to, are you a good conversationalist? Because I absolutely
Yes.
agree. This is one of the biggest signs of a good conversationalist. If you can transition from one topic to another without awkward pauses, that's huge.
Oh, this is a very subtle art and very important that we're talking about this today for our
Yes.
listeners because if you do it wrong, you could really make people feel like you don't want to be talking to them, like you're distracted. There's a lot of things that could go wrong here.
Absolutely, right?
So,
Nothing says connection like switching topics naturally.
yes.
You guys probably recognize that phrase from a
Nice.
very recent episode, 2096, where you and Michelle talked
Yes.
about that phrase. Nothing says
That was a great
connection
episode.
like so good.
Yeah.
Scroll up if you guys have missed it and hit
Yeah.
follow if you missed it because you're missing great episodes.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 days ago, guys, go back and check out that episode, and while you're doing that, hit that follow button on the All Ears English podcast. All right, today is from a question from a listener, which I love.
Yes, exactly. You want to read the question for us,
Yes.
Lindsay?
All right, here it goes. Hello, Lindsay. This is Asley. I'd like to ask you how to switch to a different topic. When I bring up some different topics, I often feel it's too sudden. Could you please give me some good phrases to change topics smoothly? I hope my question will help you make an amazing episode. By the way, I'm a university student and I live in Japan. All Ears English podcast is so popular here in Japan, and I know a lot of English learners enjoy listening to it. Once I was researching podcasts for studying English, I found a tweet saying that All Ears English is the most effective one. And that was the moment I found you guys, and here I am. Thank you for making such a great podcast. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Aisley. That's fantastic.
I know, I love this. It's such a good question. Like you said, Lindsay, this is such an important skill for
Oh,
conversation, but also just thank you for this amazing compliment and this shout out. I love it. We love to hear that we're making a
yes.
difference for people.
Yeah, that's why we do this is for you
Yeah.
guys. It's always about you guys as the listeners and what we believe in the world is maybe missing in the world and that is important is human connection. So we're looking to get there together. Good stuff.
Yeah. So,
All
yeah, this
right.
absolutely is a vital skill. Like we said, I love the question. We are going to share some phrases today that can help you do this naturally. Switch to another topic. But first, we're going
Mm,
to share a very important pro tip because Asley was asking, sometimes I feel like it's too sudden to bring
mhm.
up a different topic. And this is a pro tip to let people share about the current topic before switching, right?
Let it run its course. Have some patience is what you're trying to say?
Right, exactly. It can feel rude or abrupt to sort of interrupt or switch topics prematurely and then someone has to say something like, "Oh, can I share first? I wanted to say this." So that is a skill as well to let people have a chance to comment. Don't be so excited to jump in and switch topics.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm guilty of this, not so much in the social realm, but on business calls. Like if I get on customer support, I'll be like, question one, two, three, boom, boom, boom. And I don't give them a chance
Totally.
to answer question one. You know,
Totally.
it's so bad. It must be
That's funny
overwhelming.
because you're
Yeah.
excited to get all of the
Yeah.
answers, and it's the same with conversations. Like, if we think of a new topic and we have something exciting to say, it's
Yeah.
really tempting to cut in or switch topics when there's this art to feeling that people still have something to say about the current topic and letting that happen and holding on
Yes.
to what you want to say, right?
Yeah, I'm glad we're saying I love your pro tips, Aubrey, on All Ears English, by the way.
Thank
Our
you.
listeners love them. It's nice that you're able to break down the most important thing at the top of the episode for us. And I want to extend on that. Remember, everyone's brain works differently. Some people think in a more linear direction. No way is more intelligent. No, neither way is more correct, but people think differently. Some people think in a more linear way, like an engineer mind. Some people
Right.
think in a more, I don't know, is it that right brain kind of boom, 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 popcorn style?
Mhm.
And you may be talking to someone who thinks in a different way. So just step back a little, let them ride it out, right? Let it happen naturally.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that takes a lot of observation as well,
Hmm.
to be able to sort of read the person you're talking to and recognize how they kind of think and how they're sharing, and not
Yes.
expect everyone to act the same as you do or think the same as you do.
Yes.
That's really when we can create those deeper connections, when we're allowing everyone to
Yes.
process what's being said and share as well.
And to get insight that we may never have gotten if we didn't let someone
Right.
have that time and space to come up with something and stay the course with one topic, you might be moving on to the next, but there may be something really great that person is going to say. So give them a chance. So, all right, what does this mean, Aubrey, in practical kind of just playing it out for our listeners?
Yeah, so we have great phrases because when you're ready to transition, right? You have let
Mhm.
the topic sort of run its course, everyone's had a chance to share. There is that moment. This is really a big skill when you feel that it's like I could switch topics now, right? We've kind of said what we're
Okay.
going to say, and doing it before there's a chance for there to be like awkward conversation. Everyone takes a drink. Now I'm going to say something, right? To jump in and use a phrase that transitions to a new topic.
And I think we're all, especially in the US, we're so terrified of that awkward silence,
It's true.
you know? At least I am. I can tell
I
you that.
am.
I'm like, especially when I'm around people I'm not totally comfortable with. Everyone takes the drink and drinks go back down and then there's nothing and I just panic.
Oof. Oh, it's so painful. It's so painful, and you can avoid it. Maybe it's not it's probably is very cultural, and maybe it doesn't
Yeah.
bother you, listener out
Yeah.
there, but if it does, or if you feel like you're in a culture where it's better to avoid that awkward pause,
Yeah.
then use one of these phrases to transition right into the next one. So our first one here is to start with, "Did you hear?" And then you
Yeah.
can fill that in with anything that you've read in the news or you heard on a podcast, right? This is another reason for filling your mind with lots of ideas in English, listening, bringing in lots of English so that you have lots of things you could say
Yeah.
after did you hear.
Yeah, I love this, right? So I would, depending on who you're around, I would be careful about being too niche on did you hear, right? What's the content? Like our example here is did you hear the latest episode of Smartless? That's a podcast with Jason Bateman, right? It's a popular
Yes.
podcast. Do you listen to it? Smartless?
I did because they did like a Netflix special where
Okay.
it was like a video of
Cool.
them on their tour, and it was so
Okay.
funny. So then I started listening to the podcast, right? But you're right,
Oh,
this is a little more niche. This is maybe assuming you're with a group that has already mentioned that they listen
yes.
to the podcast maybe,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
could say like, "Did you hear about this pawpaw fruit that's all the rage in Canada?" Right? You guys, hopefully you caught that episode.
Right.
And if not, scroll up. It was very fun, but
Yeah.
it could be anything, right? It can be
Mhm.
something you read in the news. It could,
Yep.
like you said, you don't want to be too niche. You want to be pretty general here about something that they could have heard about, but maybe haven't.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly, exactly. And or if you know this person, maybe you're talking one on one, or maybe you're talking. I'm imagining you speaking with people in your neighborhood, right, Aubrey?
Mhm,
So, did
mhm.
you hear that the Johnsons are moving? Right. So people
Yeah, good
talk to each
example.
other around the neighborhood. You said you have a pretty close knit community, right, where you live, Aubrey? Is
Yes, right?
that
There's
right?
5 or 6 families that we all traveled together. We went to Mexico together just recently,
Wow, that's
and it's
amazing.
true, that is something that would definitely or, "Did you hear there's a new dog park opening up down the" or,
Right.
"Did you hear a new restaurant is opening up?"
Yeah.
Anything about the community like that, that everyone would be interested in is
Hmm.
ideal.
That was really good. Or here where I'm staying with my parents, they live right along kind of the harbor and the ocean's on the other side. They want to rebuild the seawall because one day the ocean's just going to come
Oh,
and get them. And
right.
so, anyone in this neighborhood, there's signs everywhere that next Monday they're taking a vote
Oh,
whether they're going to rebuild the seawall to protect this neighborhood. And so I could
oh.
say to anyone when I walk my dog when we finish recording today, did you hear about the vote next Monday about the seawall, right? So
Oh, yeah.
also really
Interesting.
good, making
That really
conversation.
reminds me when we were in Mexico, my kids kept wanting to build a sandcastle, but
Yeah.
it was like the tide was coming in. So they'd wanna build it, and I knew the tide I'm like, "You guys are gonna learn the
Oh.
perils of beachfront property here,"
Oh.
because every time they'd build one and then the waves would just take it out.
Yeah, it's really a high risk, high reward kinda
Yes.
scenario.
Right, your
So
castle here has great views, but you need a
it's
seawall.
probably gonna be gone in 50 years. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
right.
Climate change is a thing, but,
Yeah.
political issues coming up, maybe not being too political, but this is
Mm,
more that's more of a community issue, right? So, also great that people really will care about, whoever
yes.
you interact with. So, I love it. So, did you hear? Did you
Mhm.
hear? What else, Aubrey?
And
Number
our
2.
second one is I do this all the time. I think it's so fun and native and natural to either say, "Oh, hey," or "Oh, by the way." And then it's very general. You can follow that up with anything, but if I
Yeah.
don't add the like, "Oh, by the way," or the "Oh, hey," then it's kind of this stark transition from one topic to another, but just those couple of
Yes.
words and you can
Yeah.
ask anything, right? "Oh, hey, how was your camping trip?"
I love the importance of just these little words. This
Yeah,
is what we get here on this show, right? That you don't get in a textbook, guys, and they matter. It matters for connection. What does it do in my mind? It also makes it more casual. It makes it more
absolutely.
kind of like happenstance. Oh, by the way, right? Oh, hey, I just thought of this. Because
Exactly.
otherwise, it feels like you've sat and you've rehearsed this thing, which feels awkward.
Exactly. Exactly, right? You might say, "Oh, by the way, did you run that marathon you were training for?" And if you just
Yep.
stop, like, say you guys are talking about the pawpaw fruit, that's all the rage, and then you just stop and say, "Did you run that marathon you were training for?" It's weird.
No,
It's not casual enough. Like you said, it feels like you were thinking of what you could say. It's
it's
too stark of a there's no transition.
it feels too robotic. It
Right.
feels creepy almost in a way.
Yeah. You're exactly right that these few little words make it spur of the moment. The, "Oh, hey,
Yes.
oh, by the way," it's like, "I just thought of this, so it's totally
Yeah.
natural and normal that I'm asking you."
Right, exactly, and our listeners, I think our listeners are gonna love this episode, Aubrey, because they wanna feel spontaneous and natural with their English, and until
Yes.
it's like fake it till we make it, right? Until we do feel that spontaneity, we kind of add in words that imply that spontaneity in a way.
Exactly. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm excited for the 3rd. So far, I've really liked these first 2. What's the 3rd, Aubrey?
Nice. So the third is, "I've been meaning to ask you." This is
Also
very
good.
general, right? It can be used for any topic change. You can then ask their opinion about the news or something about their life or for a recommendation or a favor. This could
That's
be
so good.
followed by anything.
This is great. Yeah, exactly. This kinda goes along with the same vibe of, it's something I've been wanting to talk about, but it's not so robotic or
Right.
rehearsed, right? For example, I've been meaning to ask you, where did you take those waterfall pictures you posted on Instagram? Okay,
Yes,
so
this
good.
is great, right? And that is going imagine the conversation that opens up after that, right? They get to
It's
share
really
about
good.
their trip and this beautiful waterfall that they visited, and maybe then you get the opportunity to go visit it, right? And you can just start it with that.
Mhm.
You also could for sure say like, "Oh, by the way," or "Oh, hey." These are all pretty interchangeable.
Yes, and what's the second example here?
Yeah, you could say, I've been meaning to ask you, do you have a pediatrician you'd recommend?" So this
Mm,
happens so often with parents asking for
I bet.
recommendations for
Yeah,
doctors or restaurants, this kind of
yeah.
thing comes up all the time. And I often will preface it with this. "I've been meaning to ask you."
And this also adds kind of a nice social layer where you're kind of showing that you respect the person's opinion. So it's not as starkly going, where did you find your pediatrician? Who's your pediatrician? I've been thinking about you and I know that I trust your judgment. And so now I've been meaning to ask you this question. There's something
That's
about
such a good point. Because then
yeah.
it is that above the, like, "Oh, by the way," that's very much like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
just thought of this." "I've been
Right.
meaning to ask you," is like, "Hey, I value your opinion, and I know
Mhm.
you've lived here a while, you have this experience, so I've
Yep.
thought of you when I needed a recommendation for this."
Yeah, guys, these words are the missing piece for connection. These little pieces we're teaching you today are going to build that picture and create that connection that might be missing now that you can get to by inserting these little nuances into your English. So good.
Absolutely. Let's do a role play and show all of these in
Yeah.
just like a normal conversation. You and I are just chatting at the park for
Mhm.
this, all right?
Okay. All right, here we go. Yeah.
It was a pretty fun trip, though. I'd love to go back.
Oh, by the way, how's the new school going for your kids?
Good, they really love it. It's a bit of a drive, but smaller classes, which is nice.
Glad to hear it. How's the administration?
It seems great, really supportive, good communication, no problems so far. Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, have you found a good Thai restaurant?
Yes, there's a good one near our house. I'll text it to you. Get the Penang curry.
That sounds amazing. Do they have mango and sticky rice? I've been craving it.
Oh, yes, and it's to die for. Ooh, I haven't had
Ugh,
mango and sticky rice in a long
I
time, but it's
love mango and
good.
sticky rice. That's one of my favorite desserts. It's so
Oh,
good.
when it's warm, it's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always disappointed if I go to a Thai restaurant and then they say they don't have mango,
Yeah.
it's not in season. I'm always like, "Oh,
Mhm.
it
I
broke my
know.
heart."
That is a heartbreaker.
All right, let's go through this. So first you threw in the, "Oh, by the way," right? I've
Yep.
been talking about a trip. I'm like, "Oh, it's a really fun
Mhm.
trip. I'd go back." And you transition here with, "Oh, by the way, how's the new school going for your kids?"
Yeah, and it's also good because it almost will help people understand you better, right? It's like putting these benchmarks, these signposts in place. I'm changing the
Yes.
topic now, right?
That's a good
Yeah.
point too, right? When you hear this, "Oh, by the way," then they're like, "Ooh, I
Yeah.
gotta listen because this is a new
Yeah.
topic, a new question."
Totally. Keep people from falling asleep. I mean, it's good. All around, it's good.
Absolutely. Yes.
What else did I say? Let's
And then
see.
we were kinda talking about that school, and then I transitioned to ask you about the Thai restaurant. I said, "Hey, I've been meaning to ask you," and I've kind of combined 2 here. I do this all the time with that, "Oh,
Yes.
hey," or "Hey" before, "Hey, I've been
Yeah,
meaning
hey's
to
good.
ask you." Just
Yeah.
so casual and natural.
It's nice, it's friendly. "Hey, I've been meaning to ask you." Or you could do a little thing with your voice there. It just sounds friendly. It
Mhm.
sounds interested, like you're interested in what the person's about to say.
Exactly.
So
These are such great transitions for any topic, and I love how for any of these, you can add so many different things after this little, like you said, signpost, marker, we're
yeah,
transitioning now, we're opening it up to
yes.
ask about so many different things.
I love it. Aubrey, what's our takeaway for today? This episode is super important, first of all.
It
Yeah.
is, I agree, right? This is such an important social skill to know when and how to switch topics in a conversation. I
Mhm.
really love today's tips and our phrases, so you guys will be ready for this.
Yeah, guys. Again, it's the little things we put into our English. And sometimes, and most of the time, if even if you make a grammar mistake, you can get away with that if again you maintain the eye contact, maintain the connection, and add in these pieces that are gonna make people feel like you want to know what they have to say. They can understand you. You're changing the topic. Connection's right there. Right. I love it.
Absolutely, right? They're not going to remember a grammar mistake. What they're going to remember is this very natural native connection they felt with
Yeah.
you.
Love it. So good. Let's leave it at that, guys. If you love our style of connection, not perfection, hit that follow button now because we can drop right into your listening queue for 4 days a week of All Ears English. Good stuff. All right,
Awesome. Thanks,
Aubrey.
Lindsay. See you
All
next
right.
time.
Have a good one. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.